Alright guys, so today we're going to be learning about anchors. Now anchors are super important in sailing because they're a huge safety matter in fact. Let's say you're stranded, your boat breaks, or some other disaster happens. One of the best ways to keep everything safe is to anchor your boat. Another great thing about them is save gas if you're in a motorboat, or if you just want to chill out, hang out, just anchor your boat and you can swim off it and that kind of stuff. Right, so our objective will be to learn how to anchor a boat and learn a bit about the different types of anchors. Basically, while anchoring a boat, we want to make sure we do it effectively. You don't want your boat to be moving around. And we want to do it safely, obviously, like everything else in sailing. So, as well, we want to do this under all conditions. You know, your boat can break down in 30 knots of wind just like it can break down in 5 knots of wind. And we'll want to do this in most dinghies you'll be sailing with. Alright, so here's some key points to keep in mind when anchoring. You do not want your anchor rope to be too short. Basically, the more vertical your anchor rope is from your boat to the bottom of the lake or the river or whatever, the more likely your boat is to move around. So the recommended ratio is 7-to-1 ratio. That means that if you're anchoring in 3 meters of water, you want to have 21 meters of anchor rope. And as a minimum, we recommend 4-to-1. Basically, you want to make sure your anchor is both safely attached to the rope and your boat. We'll do this with a bow line, a shackle, or around turn 2/2 hitches knots, all things you're very familiar with already. And when you're tying the anchor to your boat, one of the best ways to do it is around the mast. That way you're sure that nothing is going to go wrong. So basically, when you're ready to anchor, you make sure everyone's aware of the situation, and the first thing you do is head into irons. Obviously you want to do this so your boat does not move while you're trying to keep in place. So once you're in irons, you're not moving, everyone's safe, you're ready to anchor, and you just slowly let it out. I emphasize slowly because you want to make sure nobody's caught in the rope or whatever. And you stop at a 4-to-1 ratio. So basically, once a good section of your rope's out, you want to stop and just wait a bit for the anchor to settle into the ground and do its job. Once you're pretty sure that the anchor is in place, try pulling it up, make sure it's not moving, whatever. Then you let the rest out slowly as well. So that's basically anchoring. Alright, so 2 things I forgot to mention about anchors actually is that they're not required on all dinghies, unlike things like life jackets, paddles, whistles, etc. One other thing is, as you've probably seen on anchors around the yacht club, is that you want a chain on the end of your anchor. The purpose of the chain actually is so that the rope that you tie the anchor to doesn't get caught on shrapnel, rocks, whatever at the bottom, or actually get cut entirely. So yeah, those 2 things. Now here we have the 4 main types of anchors. Obviously there's other kinds, but these are the most common. So I'm sure you recognize some of these, you've seen some lying around the yacht club, and in light of that I'm going to ask you to play a little game. So what we're going to do is split up in teams of 4, and you guys are going to go on a bit of an adventure. You're going to just roam around the yacht club, search for one of these anchors, and beside each anchor I've put a little note kind of thing, little paper explaining which purpose each one serves, what they're best used for, what kind of boats they're on, all that kind of stuff. So basically you're going to get the anchor, bring it back, learn about it from the sheet I've given you, and then present it to the rest of the class, and that should do it for our anchor lesson. Alright guys, so that game was fun. I'm glad you guys managed to find the anchors alright and kind of teach the class about it yourselves. So just to summarize really quickly, I'll go through each one and cover any points you guys might have missed. So basically we have the Danforth to begin with. This one's really a common anchor at yacht clubs like ours. just because it's so easy to use, it's not too big, and it basically works by itself by burying in with the two cloths. The only downside to the Danforth is that it's not very adjustable. Let's say the wind changes, the current changes, the tide, whatever. There's a good chance that it'll come undone and it will, not work anymore, basically. Alright, so moving on, we have the plow, and the plow does basically what its name says it does. It plows into the sand, the mud, the dirt, whatever, and just gets stuck in there. It's good for all bottoms, and it's, like the Danforth, a pretty popular anchor for small boaters like us. And because of its swivel, it does adjust to tides, to wind changes, to wave changes, and all that. The Bruce anchor, very similar to the plow. It sets fast, it's easy to use, once again. Unfortunately, it's not as strong, so, unless you have a lot of rope, your anchor is not really going to stay there. Well, it might not stay where you want it to stay. It's for smaller boats, and once again, it adjusts to the tide and the wind. Lastly, we have the mushroom anchor. Now, this one's pretty cool looking, but we probably won't see it around or use it much ourselves. It's mostly for big boats or mooring because it stays in the ground permanently, basically. Its whole weight gets buried into the ground, so it's better for softer bottoms with silt, sand, and the likes. And it uses suction as well. So basically, once your mushroom anchor settles, which takes a little while to work in, it's stuck there forever. So that's Anchors 101 basically. Just to go back over the objective, we've learned about anchors today. We've learned how to use anchors today. So key things to remember are the 7-to-1 rope to depth ratio for water, minimum 4-to-1 obviously. And just remember, when you're putting your anchor down, you want to make sure you're not moving. So keep her in irons and motor turned off, whatever, sailboat or motorboat. And that's pretty much it.